Hi. Hello. Well, this is Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 15. And I'm not even sure what video this is, to tell you the truth. Let me take a quick check. I know that sounds odd. I should know all that. But actually, I think this is just video 2. Yeah. And funny enough, with this summer studio class, Spontaneity within a plan, there's been a lot of plans that all of a sudden are going south. In other words, they're just not turning out exactly the way they were written down or thought about. So within that is also a certain kind of spontaneity, or something that actually you find yourself in a position to adapt. And one of them was, there's the bird. One of them was this past week, a week ago. I was doing tons of yard work. I mean, a lot. And sometimes 6 hours a day. And then after one of the days, in the middle of the night, I felt, wow, I've like a fever. And I do the garden work with a mask on because you don't know what you're going to be pulling up. And my lungs are sensitive and other things. And it was really old wood. Really old wood, so moldy. I was pulling on bittersweet, these vines that are so hard to get out. And this other stuff called Virginia creeper, which is a vine that gets really, really deep in its roots, and you yank that out, and you could go for a whole journey ripping that out. So there was all this stuff to do and lifting really heavy 2 cubic foot bags of soil, but they got rained on, so there were some of them, I swear, they were 2 to 3 times heavier. So I'm doing all this stuff really intently, in okay shape, and something didn't agree with me, and I think a lot of it was mold, and it was during when the air quality was really bad from some of the fires that were coming down from Quebec, and even the sky looked different in Western Mass. And so that was a little unexpected and really felt poor, and actually had to go to bed because I was so hot and definitely feverish and all this stuff. And the next day I felt a little better and still was really weak. And so it actually took 5 or 6 days, 5 to start, I think I'm normal. And so finally, I feel normal physically. But there was an opportunity within that. Even though it kind of messed up some plans, and my video was, this video was a week late. I just didn't want to make it not feeling well. That I discovered a lot again when you're not feeling well. I haven't been sick in years, really. 4.5 years. And so really felt it. Wasn't pleasant. But I didn't even get asthma or anything like that. It was a whole other reaction to something. But when I'm sick, or when my asthma has been, once in a while, even in the past 4 years, not great, I always learn something incredible about pressures and resistances, mentally and physically and emotionally. And so all of a sudden, when you're not used to being in the body that you're used to being in, so to speak, there's a whole other set of things happen. For example, your usual programming can't take place because you don't have the energy to actually do it. Playing the trombone, I tried every day. And the first day I was like, I just pick it up and go, and ready just to fall over. And the next day was still really poor, but managed to get a little bit more out. So I never really took a total day off. Kind of stubborn that way. And then eventually started to play a little bit longer, and just a couple days ago I felt, okay, I can start doing certain kinds of things and slurs because I actually had air, not because of my lungs, but because there was more energy throughout my whole body. So whatever happened to me hit me at a systemic level. It was really out there. But I learned a lot of different things, and how really the essence of us, and I know this even when physically feeling well, but sometimes it's heightened in an unusual way when I'm not physically well. And that's, in essence, guess what? You are not the body. That's right, Parrot. That's right. And you have a beautiful little form and body, don't you, puppy? And so, for me, it was, I stayed right within the being. Human is the form that can house the kind of being the human being is. And so I stayed as close to that as I could. And that was really good that I built about, 4.5 decades of doing that. And other things I can connect to that are healing. And I can shift my energy around so it's just not located just in the body this way, but go right above my head and locate myself way above it. And all of a sudden, I was like normal for a while, in the midst of really being sick. But then you have to keep that up. And that's a challenge, because if you actually don't have enough energy to keep that up, then that's difficult as well. And I felt it was luckily more important because I had the time to actually, okay, I got to go to bed now. So where was the spontaneity in all that? You think of spontaneity, you think, oh, there's some energy involved. And there is. But you don't want to have biased spontaneity. And so I found thought patterns that were different, and different things were possible with them. Couldn't sleep a lot in the night, so I did other meditative processes, reflective processes, certain reading, if I could. And sometimes I was up most of the night. But I wasn't fighting that. I was with it. There was a couple times I was really feeling very poor. And so that's a whole other intensity that kind of takes over. You have to do what you can to be as emotionally as stable as possible during that time. And knowing things do pass. I guess the nature of life here. It's not permanent. And so, as my wife always says, the body will always try to right itself. So instead of thinking, I'm so ticked I was sick, I remembered those words, and she reminded me as well. It's about you thinking, wow, the body's really trying. Look what I put through it. I really, have lived a life of a lot of intensity, and even in the midst of meditative processes and deep contemplative processes that bring the nervous system into parasympathetic nervous system. Okay? I'm not in the flight or fight system when I'm in those things. And so you realize even to function fully and to feel that peace, being really sick isn't going to provide that in the same way. You can get to places, and I'm much better off having that whenever those difficult times come. So it really deepened many different things in me. And so the body is its own incredible life. It's incredible what it does to strengthen out itself. Because a week ago today, I was absolutely flattened. Absolutely flattened. Felt beyond yuck. And we've had that feeling, right? But those feelings are sometimes the body says, look, you've been really doing a lot of stuff. It's time to smooth out here. And it'll make you lay down. Okay? It'll say, enough's enough. So the more we're in tune and listen to it, the better. And when those times come, we go, yep, here we are. Okay, it's all right. And I still probably did more than I should, but I do believe that when you're not well, to try to move bits is important. And I did. Sometimes driving actually I felt the best. There was something about the movement that kept things going too. And when I was sick, certain kinds of mental movement felt easier than just me trying to totally be still, but mentally find a pathway that would actually create more peace and more harmony. And it was something the body wanted, actually. So we can have this relationship. The being inside the body and the body. And the more they're in harmony, the better. Okay? So that's nothing novel. But when you discover different facets of it, it's new to you. Or the potency of that experience reminds you the difference between feeling well and not. I'm very clear of those differences, and I'm sure a lot of people are. I've had challenges where I've had to go through a lot of different kinds of things, and the feeling of peace is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Can you have spontaneity and peace? Well, when I was actually laying in certain peaceful states, and this has happened before even when I wasn't sick, all of a sudden I can remember people's names that I've been having a hard time remembering. Would just pop up. because things start to get more settled, and there's another kind of coherence that eventually can happen right after being sick. I think people have noticed that too. At the same time, it's like jumping in the car a little bit too soon sometimes, and maybe you're not totally ready to press the pedal down that hard. So I know it's kind of an odd topic, all right? But we have plans. If something like getting sick interrupts it, and sometimes we have no choice but to let the body do what it needs to self-correct and find the balances. And we have to let our incredible body temple do that. It's alive. It's like everything is alive. The planet's alive. Just remember that. It's just not a big hunk of dirt. It's alive. All the insects. And people, ooh, insects. Well, I think people are building another appreciation about insects since there's not as many. Without a doubt, there's not as many. And so there's a lot going on. In my view, some of it human-created, some in a different way than you think. But a lot of that aspect with the insects and things like that, something's telling the human to change their ways a bit. Change their ways. Don't make such a ridiculous mess. Because there's always, no matter what we do, the laws are the laws that are not human-made. And then you have to pay the price of those laws. And sometimes it's a high price. And so to be mindful and grateful of the time that you have, that there is a coherence, that there is a well-being. And in the time where it's not perfect, go, what of what I have built up in associations can help me heal? And also, because that's nutritive for the body, that it can heal quicker. These are all very important things. So this is Frequency Bone Summer Music Connection 15. Summer studio class. Now, when's the last time you talked about this in a studio class? Well, if we need to add a little brass playing into it, it takes a lot of energy to play a brass instrument. And there's different ways to accumulate energy. Rest is one of them, of course. Eating healthy is useful, especially the older you get. And letting your mind work, connecting to the natural worlds, and get out of this industrial, complex of feeling that everything needs to be a polished, perfect product. Is it in tune with your life? Is it in tune with nature? And if you have that relationship, you'll be able to find what your lip needs, what your articulation needs, what your support systems need. It can be a very organic, very natural process, even in the midst of you worrying about auditions. Okay? So, hope to see some of you on Zoom soon. All the best. Tried to have a nice, cute ending. Oh well.